When I first began my journey, I believed discipline was a harsh concept. I saw it as something rigid and suffocating, like locking myself inside a cage and throwing the key away. It felt restrictive, cold, and unforgiving. But as the years passed and life unfolded, I discovered a truth that completely reshaped my perspective. Discipline does not take away your freedom. It creates it. It's a paradox that most people never understand. The more discipline you cultivate, the freer you actually become. Look around. Most people wake up and surrender their day to chance. They let themselves be carried by whatever force shows up first. The news, a message on their phone, a sudden emotion, a lingering memory from yesterday. They drift through the day reacting instead of directing. That is no way to build a future. That is no way to rise above mediocrity. Let me tell you what predictability truly gives you. Predictability gives you peace of mind. It removes uncertainty from your mornings, your afternoons, and your evenings. When you know exactly where you are going and you have intentionally carved a path, you no longer stand at a crossroads every single day, wondering which direction to take. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop negotiating. You simply walk the path you have already chosen. And that is freedom. Think about the greatest musicians, the most disciplined athletes, the most productive individuals you admire. Did they reach excellence because they felt motivated once or twice a month? Or did they build systems, routines, and habits so consistent and reliable that they could perform even when their mood was off, when life felt heavy, when the conditions were far from perfect? When they didn't feel like showing up, their routine showed up for them. That is the true power of predictability. I remember traveling constantly, moving from one city to another, often exhausted and far from home. Yet every single day, my suitcase was packed the same way. My notes were prepared the same way. My schedule was structured the same way. There was no confusion, no space for last-minute decisions. There is something incredibly liberating about not having to argue with yourself every morning. Not asking, should I do it today? Should I skip it? Maybe later? No. Just one simple question. What's next on the list? That alone changes everything. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up and ask themselves, do I feel like it today? Am I in the mood to work toward my goals? That is the shortest path to disappointment. Consider this instead. What if the best parts of your life did not depend on how you felt in the moment, but on a foundation you built long before that moment ever arrived? That is what an unstoppable routine does. It stands between you and your old self. It quietly whispers, just do what comes next. Don't let emotion take control. Imagine no longer being a prisoner of your moods or impulses, but becoming the deliberate creator of your days every single day. Predictability does more than create order, it generates energy. When you know what to expect, you preserve one of the most valuable resources you have, decision-making power. Save your deepest thinking for what truly matters and let your routine handle everything else. Discipline is the architect. Routine is the builder. You design the structure, then allow your habits to construct it brick by brick. Over time, you wake up inside a life you intentionally designed. No accidents, no luck, just structure. So ask yourself this today. What could become possible if you stopped leaving your days to chance? If you removed indecision from your mornings, afternoons, and evenings, could your results multiply? Could you become the person you have only admired from afar? Predictability is not the enemy. It is the gateway to achievement. It is the key that unlocks progress. Build that door, walk through it, leave randomness behind, step into a life of deliberate creation. That is where freedom begins. If someone asked me what the secret ingredient of success is, my answer would be consistency. Not excitement, not raw energy, consistency. And it is the one thing most people underestimate. Why? Because it isn't glamorous. It doesn't earn applause. But make no mistake, it moves mountains. You don't build a legacy on brief flashes of brilliance. You build it through the steady rhythm of small actions repeated day after day. Success is not about the fireworks you ignite once or twice a year. It is about the quiet candle you light every single morning, whether conditions are perfect or painful. I once believed you had to work extremely hard for a short period of time to get ahead. A week, a month. But what happens after that burst of effort? Most people burn out, slide backward, and then wonder why nothing changed. They say, "I tried so hard, but nothing stuck." The issue was never effort. The issue was rhythm. It is not about how hard you work on one particular day. It is about how consistently you show up day after day, week after week, year after year. Let me share a personal example. When I began reading and taking notes every day, I saw no noticeable difference in the first week. My conversations weren't sharper. My thinking didn't feel clearer. But after several months, something shifted. I remembered more. I connected ideas faster. I asked better questions. I didn't suddenly become smarter. I simply stayed committed to the process. That is the quiet magic of consistency. A routine creates rhythm, and rhythm, not intensity, builds the strongest foundations. Think about a farmer planting crops. He doesn't try to plow, plant, and harvest all in one afternoon. He works in harmony with the seasons. Day after day, he waters, weeds, observes, waits, and slowly, almost silently, growth happens. Many people spend their lives chasing motivation, chasing feelings, chasing that sudden spark of energy. Motivation is unreliable. It appears one day and disappears the next. If you wait for motivation before acting, you will spend your life waiting. When you build a routine, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. Life will test you. It is easy to stay committed when you feel inspired. But what about when you are tired? When progress feels slow? When things aren't going your way? Consistency bridges that gap. It carries you forward when enthusiasm fades. I remember a period when business was slow. The phone stayed silent, opportunities felt scarce. The temptation was to pull back, to do less. Instead, I doubled down on my routines. I kept reading, I kept reaching out, I kept planning. Slowly, steadily, the tide turned. Not overnight, but surely. Consistency always has the final word. So don't just ask yourself how hard you are willing to work. Ask yourself how consistently you are willing to work. Short bursts fade, steady steps endure. The true winners are not the ones who move the fastest. They are the ones who refuse to stop moving, even when no one is watching. Here is something worth remembering. You can borrow someone's excitement, but you cannot borrow their consistency. That is yours to build. And once you build it, you become unstoppable. Turn your actions into rituals. Make your habits automatic. Let the rhythm of your routine carry you when motivation fails. That is how ordinary effort becomes extraordinary achievement. So today, I challenge you, stop chasing quick wins. Build your life on the foundation of consistency. Day after day, stone after stone. One day you will look back and realize you built a cathedral while everyone else was busy chasing sparks. Most people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the stars to align, waiting for inspiration or a sign from somewhere. They wake up and say, "If I feel like it, I'll do it. If not, maybe tomorrow." Let me share the shift that changed how I approached every single day. Don't begin with your feelings. Begin with your standards. Feelings fluctuate. Standards do not. Standards are your non-negotiables. They do not bend with the weather, the news, or someone's careless words. Standards are the commitments you honor regardless of how you feel in the moment. If you want to build a routine that cannot be broken, anchor it to your standards, not to your emotions. Ask yourself this: what are your non-negotiables? What are the actions you take regardless of how you feel, regardless of the circumstances around you? Winners are not defined by what they do on their best days. They are shaped by what they do on the days they least feel like showing up. Champions rise and act not because they are endlessly motivated, but because their standards require it. You don't need to feel inspired to brush your teeth. You do it because it is a standard. You don't wake up every morning debating whether you should or shouldn't. You simply do it. That is the power of a standard. It removes argument from action. I remember many days when it would have been easy to skip reading, skip planning, skip making those extra calls. Motivation was nowhere to be found. But the standard was. And when standards take control, you no longer waste energy convincing yourself. You simply honor the commitment you made. Emotion is a beautiful thing. It can be powerful fuel, but it is unreliable as a guide. It rises and falls. It comes and goes. If you build your days around emotion, your days become unpredictable, and your results even more so. Build your life around standards and you create certainty. You create reliability. If you find yourself negotiating with your routine, telling yourself maybe later or just this once, that is a sign a true standard has not yet been set. Once the standard exists, the negotiation ends. The debate disappears. The only question left is what comes next on the schedule. Standards are not wished into existence. They are built. You define them. You defend them. You reinforce them. Every time you follow through, every time you do what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel, that standard grows stronger. Over time, it becomes part of who you are. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait for inspiration. The people who win in life move first and let the feelings follow later. They do not ask their emotions for permission to succeed. They decide what matters, then act on that decision day after day. So today, set your standards high. Let your emotions come and go, but let your standards remain firm. Build your schedule around what truly matters. Protect your non-negotiables and watch as your routine becomes unstoppable. Not because you always felt like it, but because you decided this is who you are. That is how wishful thinking turns into predictable achievement. That is how the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Not through the energy of a single moment, but through the unbreakable power of a standard that refuses to bend. If there is one place where routine matters most, it is the morning. The first hour of the day is like the rudder of a great ship. It sets your direction, even when the waters grow rough later on. I learned long ago that when you begin the morning with order, the rest of the day tends to fall into alignment. Begin in chaos, and you spend the next 12 hours trying to recover. Most people wake up and immediately tumble into the day, rushing, reacting, responding to whatever demands their attention first. Messages arrive, notifications appear, requests pile up before they have even gathered their own thoughts. That is not productivity. That is confusion. Order in the morning creates clarity by noon. That is why I have always believed in starting each day with intention, not with noise, not with urgency, but with quiet focus. Sometimes that means reading a few pages of something that strengthens the mind. Sometimes it means reflection, asking yourself what truly matters today. Sometimes it means planning the tasks that matter most before distractions try to claim your attention. You do not have to wake up at dawn to win the day, but you do have to win the first hour. Whatever time your day begins, that first hour belongs to you, not to the world. Claim it, protect it, use it to set your intentions before the world sets its agenda for you. I remember my early days when I would wake up late, already behind, rushing out the door with half a plan and no clarity. By midday, everything felt scattered. Focus was gone. The entire day became an exercise in catching up. It was not until I began guarding my mornings that everything changed. Even a few minutes of calm and structure transformed how I handled challenges. So what should you do in that first hour? Read something uplifting, not headlines, but wisdom. Write down your goals. Review what matters most. Sit in silence and let your mind settle before it is pulled in every direction. Whatever you choose it deliberately. If chaos is the first thing you feed your mind, confusion will follow you throughout the day. But begin with order and intention, and something remarkable happens. Problems feel smaller. Distractions lose their power. You move with calm confidence. Guard your first hour like a treasure. That is when you plant the seeds for the day you want, not just the day that happens by accident. Routine is not only about what you do, it is about how you begin. Start each day with order, purpose, and focus, and you give yourself an enormous advantage. That is how you become the architect of your day rather than its victim. Tomorrow morning, before the world rushes in, take that time for yourself. Begin with purpose, and everything else will follow. Order in the morning. Clarity by noon. Achievement by night. One of the greatest challenges of modern life is maintaining focus. The phone rings. Interruptions appear. The world pulls at your attention all day long. If you want to accomplish anything meaningful, you must master focus. This is where the power block principle becomes essential. The day is made of hours and minutes, yet most people treat it as one long, chaotic stream. They jump from task to task, message to meeting, never settling into deep work. Every time you switch tasks, you lose energy, clarity, and momentum. Deep work requires deep focus, and deep focus never happens by accident. It must be planned. Dividing your day into focused blocks of time changes everything. One block for creative work, one for calls, one for study or reflection. Instead of multitasking, which is an illusion, you give full attention to one task at a time. The real power comes from eliminating constant switching. Every transition forces your mind to restart, like stopping and changing direction repeatedly. But when you stay with one category of work, momentum builds. You go deeper, you accomplish more. When it is time for a power block, distractions disappear. The phone goes silent. The door stays closed. For that hour, the world can wait. You would be surprised what you can achieve when you draw that boundary clearly. Willpower is limited. Constantly resisting interruptions drains you. But when you design your environment with focus blocks, distractions no longer need to be fought. They are already removed. Structure does not limit you. It frees you. It creates space for real progress. In those focused blocks, you are not just working. You are building something that lasts. Look at your own routine. Where can tasks be grouped? Where can time be protected for what matters most? Treat those blocks as sacred. Defend them fiercely. With power blocks, stress decreases and results increase. There is less noise and more clarity. At the end of the day, you feel accomplished, not because you did everything, but because you did what mattered. You do not need more hours. You need more focus within the hours you already have. Over the years, studying both success and failure, I noticed something important. Not all habits are equal. Some are small. Some create ripples, but a few are foundational, like the keystone in an arch. When they are in place, everything else becomes stronger. Remove them, and the structure weakens. These are keystone habits. They are not flashy, but they are powerful. When you protect them, the rest of your routine builds itself. Let them slip, and cracks appear everywhere. Keystone habits differ for each person, but you recognize them by their impact. They make everything else easier. For some, it is movement in the morning. For others, reflection or journaling. Maybe it is reviewing goals, even briefly, to stay aligned with direction. In my own life, a few simple habits anchored everything else. Morning reading sharpened my thinking. Writing goals kept me focused. Reviewing lessons from the previous day turned small mistakes into lasting wisdom. The time investment was small. The return was enormous. Real change does not come from trying to fix everything at once. It comes from protecting a handful of foundational habits. When those are secure, everything else follows. When they are neglected, even strong intentions collapse. You can identify your keystone habits by noticing what happens when you skip them. Miss one, and the entire day feels off. These habits are not optional. They are the glue holding progress together. Identify them, protect them, prioritize them above all else. When you do, momentum becomes easier, recovery faster, and consistency natural. Keystone habits spread. When you maintain them, other positive behaviors follow almost automatically. So take a moment today to reflect. Find the habits that hold everything together. Guard them carefully and watch how your entire routine transforms. Ask yourself this honestly. Which habits, when they are in place, make you feel strong, clear, and focused? Which routines are the first to disappear when life gets busy? And when they fall away, what happens to everything else? Write them down. Commit to protecting them. Keystone habits do not make you flawless, but they make you powerful. They give you leverage. And once your routine is built on that solid base, you will be amazed at how the rest of your life begins to rise with it. One of the greatest mistakes people make with routines is treating them as if they were carved in stone. Rigid, permanent, unchanging. But life itself is never static. Seasons shift, circumstances evolve. What worked last month may no longer fit the next. That is why a truly unstoppable routine is not a prison. It is a living system. Your routine should serve you, not trap you. It should help you adapt, grow, and improve, not suffocate creativity or lock you into patterns that no longer align with your goals. If you ever feel confined by your own routine, that is your signal to step back and ask a crucial question. Is this still serving my highest priorities? I make it a practice to review my routines every week. Nothing complicated. Just sitting down with a notebook and looking honestly at what worked, what felt off, what consumed too much time for too little return. No judgment, just observation. Where did energy flow naturally? Where did friction show up? Did I protect my priorities, or did distractions quietly slip in? Sometimes you will realize a task does not need to exist at all. Other times, you will notice a new priority emerging, something meaningful that has not been given the time it deserves. Adjust, refine, strengthen. Do not abandon your routine just because it stumbled. Improve it. In life and in business, the people who win are not the ones chasing perfection. They are the ones making small, consistent improvements. The secret is not flawlessness. The secret is iteration. Like a sculptor, you chip away, reshape, and refine. Over time, something remarkable takes form, not by chance, but by design. There were seasons in my own life when my mornings looked completely different. Some years demanded more time for reading and reflection, less for meetings. Other years required serious attention to health, making movement and exercise non-negotiable. The structure shifted, but the commitment to progress never changed. Walking away from a routine at the first sign of resistance is easy. Anyone can do that. Progress belongs to the person who keeps showing up, who keeps reviewing, adjusting, and refining. Do not confuse flexibility with laziness. True flexibility is about adapting to improve, not finding reasons to do less. So how do you begin? Choose a time each week, maybe Sunday evening, maybe Monday morning. Sit with your routine and ask the hard questions. What is working? What is wasting energy? What needs more structure? What needs to be released? No routine is too sacred to improve. Over time, these small adjustments compound. The routine becomes sharper. The results become stronger. You do not become unstoppable by getting everything right immediately. You get there by becoming slightly better each week. Treat your routine as a living system, and you will never feel trapped. Progress is born from iteration, not instant perfection. Do not search for a routine that works forever. Commit instead to making it better over time. That is how routines turn into results. If there is one force capable of transforming a good routine into a great one, it is accountability. Making promises to yourself is easy in quiet moments. Writing plans is simple when no one is watching. But what gets measured gets repeated, and what becomes visible becomes responsibility, not just intention. Most people do not fail because they lack knowledge. They do not fail because they lack desire. They fail because they lack accountability. It is one thing to say you will do something. It is another to measure it and let the results stare back at you. Accountability can be private, a checklist, a scorecard, a journal, or it can be public, sharing your goals with a partner, a friend, or a group that will ask how you are progressing. The method matters less than the act itself. Make your routine visible. Place it where you cannot ignore it. For years, I kept a simple checklist of my routines. Each evening, I reviewed it. Did I follow through? Did I protect my keystone habits? Where did I slip, and what could I improve tomorrow? Some nights brought pride, other nights brought resolve. The checklist did not judge. It simply reflected reality. There is power in seeing your actions written down. It takes your routine out of your head and places it into the real world. It becomes evidence, a record. And when you see days stacking on top of each other where you kept your word, something shifts inside. Confidence grows, discipline deepens. If you want to raise the stakes, make accountability public. Find someone you respect, someone who will ask honest questions and expect real answers. Tell them what you are committed to and report your progress. You will notice how much stronger your resolve becomes when someone else is paying attention. Accountability is not about guilt. It is about growth. It keeps your routine front and center instead of hidden in the background. When you know you will review that list, mark that box, give that report, you act differently. You take your commitments seriously. This is where the real momentum begins. One day becomes two. Two become a week. A week becomes a month. The more you track, the more you improve. The more visible your progress, the harder it becomes to quit when things get difficult. So ask yourself today, how will you track your routine? What will you measure? Who will you tell? Do not leave progress to chance. Shine a light on it. Let accountability transform your routine from an idea into an identity. What gets measured gets repeated, and what gets repeated shapes who you become. If there is one lesson I wish more people understood, it is this. Rest is not weakness. Rest is not the enemy of discipline. Rest is part of the routine. Without it, even the strongest system will collapse. Fatigue destroys consistency faster than failure ever could. I once believed that pushing harder, sleeping less, and outlasting everyone else was the key to success. For a while it seemed to work, but eventually the days blurred together. Decisions became sloppy, energy dropped, progress slowed. It was a difficult lesson, but an essential one. Rest is not the absence of routine. It is what allows routine to last. Look at high performers of any kind, athletes, leaders, craftsmen. They do not operate without pause. They work in rhythms, intense effort followed by real recovery. Growth happens in recovery, not just in strain. Muscles rebuild during rest. Clarity emerges in quiet. Many people fall into the trap of believing the answer is always more. More hours, more effort, more pressure. But when you are always grinding, the sharpness disappears. Quality drops, mistakes multiply. Eventually, exhaustion turns into discouragement. The solution is to schedule recovery with the same intention you schedule work. Do not hope rest will happen. Make it non-negotiable. Maybe it is an evening walk. Maybe it is time with a book for pleasure, not productivity. Whatever it is, protect it. Because a routine that includes rest does not just help you perform better today. It allows you to keep showing up tomorrow. And now, as we bring everything together, take a moment to pause, not to stop, but to reflect. Because what you've just explored is not a collection of tips. It's not motivation for today and forgetfulness tomorrow. It's a way of living. Discipline, routine, standards, consistency, focus, rest. These are not separate ideas, they are parts of the same structure. A structure that, when built intentionally, can hold the weight of your greatest ambitions. Most people spend their lives reacting to emotions, reacting to circumstances, reacting to whatever life throws at them next. But a small group of people, quietly, steadily, do something different. They decide, they design, they build. They do not wait to feel ready. They do not wait for motivation. They do not wait for the perfect moment. They move first. They understand something most never do. Freedom is not found in endless choice. Freedom is found in structure. When your days are designed, your mind is free from constant decision-making. Free from emotional negotiation, free from drifting. And that freedom is not loud. It's calm, it's grounded, it's powerful. You stop asking, what should I do today? And start saying, this is who I am. That is the shift, from effort to identity, from wishing to becoming. Because routines are not about controlling your time. They are about protecting what matters. They protect your energy, they protect your focus, they protect your future self from the chaos of the present moment. Every standard you set is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every habit you protect is a brick in the life you are building. Every day you show up, even imperfectly, you move the line forward. And here's the truth most people never hear. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things, consistently. You don't need intensity every day. You need direction. You don't need to feel powerful. You need to act with purpose. And over time, something extraordinary happens. The effort becomes easier, the resistance gets quieter, the identity takes hold. You no longer rely on discipline as force. Discipline becomes who you are. You wake up with clarity. You move through the day with intention. You rest without guilt. You work without chaos. Not because life became easy, but because you became structured. Remember this, a routine is not meant to cage you. It's meant to carry you. It carries you on the days you are tired. It carries you when motivation disappears. It carries you when progress feels invisible. And on those days when nothing seems to be happening, that is when the foundation is being laid. Quietly, relentlessly, faithfully. This is how lives change, not in moments of inspiration, but in systems that refuse to collapse. So don't chase perfection. Chase alignment. Don't look for the routine that works forever. Commit to becoming the person who keeps refining it. Protect your mornings, defend your focus, honor your standards, schedule your rest, track your progress, review, adjust, repeat, day after day, week after week, year after year. Because in the end, success is not dramatic, it is deliberate, and one day you will look back and realize something profound. While others were waiting, you were building. While others were reacting, you were designing. While others were chasing motivation, you were becoming disciplined. And that is how ordinary days turn into an extraordinary life. If this message challenged you, strengthened you, or reminded you of who you're capable of becoming, then stay with us. Subscribe to the channel Rise and Conquer, and continue this journey of discipline, clarity, strength, and deliberate growth. This is where standards are built. This is where routines become power. This is where you rise and you conquer.